Hey everybody, it's David Eisner from the Crypto Edge. Thank you so much for being here. I've got a really exciting video for you today. I'm pretty pumped by some of the stuff that I'm seeing in the crypto market. We're starting to see some turnarounds, although it may not look that way in Bitcoin right now. The altcoin market's looking very interesting, so I'm excited to show you some of what I'm seeing there in the general overall market, as well as looking at some specific coins. I think we have a bunch of coins that we can look at, and in terms of BTC and USD. So this is going to be a pretty in-depth video. I hope that it's going to be of great value to you. And basically, let's just get started. Let's just dive right in. Let's start with the 1 week on Bitcoin in terms of, on Coinbase. And, I always like to start with Bitcoin because when we start here, then we kind of have a map of maybe where altcoins might be going. Can we increase our Bitcoin stake with altcoins? And, overall, there's one thing that's really, really important to me right now. And it's this 19 SMA magic line on the weekly. And you can see that if I zoom in, we just kind of came down, tested it. We just keep coming down and kind of testing it, but not breaking through. So for me, as much as the bears want to be bears, and that's fine, and I'm going to actually put together a little bit of a bear case here, and you can see kind of MACD pointing down. Not necessarily that we had any divergence here. I don't see that we had a divergence, but and we might actually have it kind of just turn right back up if we decide to move up here. So it's not that MACD is actually giving me anything or that RSI is giving me anything. It's that we just haven't broken through this magic line. And for me, you can see right here when we broke through this line, big bull run. We went too far, we usually come back to it, right? You can see that during these weeks, we kind of just popped up, come back down, pop up, come back down, and kind of rode the line until we got too far extended, we came back to the line. I didn't really start getting bullish until we come across this line, right? Same situation over here, just kind of testing it. So you might, say like over here, all right, well, we came down, we tested this line, but the market still had more. We came down, we tested it, market had more, right? Went too far, now we're coming back down. When we have this next candle coming down here, all right, well, now we're in bear mode, right? And we stayed in bear mode until we crossed over that line. So it's not that I don't necessarily think we won't cross over the line. It's just that we haven't crossed over it, right? So if we break out to the upside here for whatever reason, whether it be the backed launch and that's a bullish thing, or I don't know, whatever technical reason comes in, then all right, I'm staying bullish, right? This is a test and a bounce. But if we cross over this line, then I'm going to be looking for short setups. The problem is right now I just don't have that, okay? So that's the most important thing for me on Bitcoin right now. And the other really important thing was this GAN study. And, basically back here, when we entered into this arc, you can see the arc defined by these two different arcs. When we entered into the arc, I said, well, and we had been drawing these different wedge trend lines. I said, I believe we will stay in this arc. We will stay in this trading range until we get out of this arc, which we have. When we got out of this arc, it got very, very quiet, right? But this wedge is starting to really squeeze, right? So we need to break out of this obviously soon. Which way we head, I think that's, conjecture at this point. I know a lot of people are thinking bear, probably more people thinking bear than bull, which makes me wary. It makes me a little bit wary to just say, okay, well, we're thinking bear. Now, I've had this bullish bot drawn on this chart for a really long time because it honestly is still in play, up to 19,600. Do I necessarily think that that is going to come into play? Not really. And have I taken this trade? No. but it's there, right? And you can see that the key support level is right here at 9,086. If we break this trend line, put in structure, and and then eventually break down here, well, we'll have broken the magic line. I believe that we'd be heading down from there. And if you've lost if you've I said lost because the connection got lost again. Pretty much every video my mouse connection is gonna get lost. It's kind of hilarious. It'll probably come back too at some point. And then after we break down here, well, you've maybe seen in my last video or my last couple videos that I do believe that one scenario that seems highly likely to me is a test of these lows in some fashion, or a coming down into the reload zone of this range, and then a breakout at some point in early to mid 2020. Actually, when we start to enter this arc, seems like could be a breakout time. So we might come down here into this arc here, see how this one ends and this one begins. I think this is the start of a new cycle. I'll talk about that a little bit later in the video when I look at some other charts. But I do think that this is a significant event that's coming up right here. I'm just not ready to call bull or bear, and I don't think that I really need to. In terms of making money, we just have to kind of follow the setups. And for me, I don't have a long setup here, and I don't have a short setup here that I'm confident in. If we go bear, I have plenty of powder dry on the sidelines to buy. If we go bull, I'm plenty long with the amount of Bitcoin that I have or altcoins. So that's me personally. So I'm positioned fine in this market as is. It's up to you and your trading plan what you do here, but I just don't have a trade. I don't necessarily think that right now in this video Bitcoin is the most interesting thing. I just felt like I need to go through this. We've got here a the spreads chart on OKCoin, and the spreads have popped up again and actually looking bullish, right? I mean, we do kind of have an overbought signal here. We had one back here and kind of came back down, but this looks like almost a W to me, right? So this looks bullish in terms of the spreads. Can't really deny that. Let's see. I was going to show you the GAN, and we've talked about this. I mean, this really didn't show much for me. If we went down to the 1 day, you can see that the MACD is actually coiling, so really not giving us anything there. I think we've been at the top of value, or deciding whether or not we're going to step back into value here, and if we do, so there's just if we do, we'll go down, but it's most likely 80% of the time. But I just don't see anything right now. We've kind of crossed over into these trend lines. Those are 12-hour trend lines. Nothing really. I've kind of taken a quick peek at this and not really given me anything here to go off of. So for me on Bitcoin, it's kind of a wait and see. And a lot of times when we have this kind of sideways action in the Bitcoin market, we get a little perk up in the altcoin market, which is quite nice. So let's just take a quick look at the altcoin market. Oh yeah, the one thing I was going to say is, like, let's just take a quick look at NVT. Not that NVT has given us amazingly great signals. You can see down here, it never even went green in the bottom of that market cycle. Oh, sorry about that. And it is still pretty high, but we're not red. So to me, yeah, it's high, but we're, it kind of flashed the red. We came down, and it's definitely not flashing any buy signals, but it's not like a warning signal either. And the interesting part about the MVT is that it really didn't do very well over here. You can see it's already flashing red at the beginning of this bull run. So that is not great. So again, just the reiteration, I just don't think there's much to be seen in terms of Bitcoin. That's not really the most important thing. If we go, I could see a scenario where alts go bull if Bitcoin goes down or stays the same. If Bitcoin rallies, I think again it's going to be really hard for altcoins to rally. And let's talk about that a little bit. The first thing I like to look at, as you know, if you've watched any of my other videos, is Bitcoin dominance, right? This is how is Bitcoin performing in terms of the rest of the market, and how are BTC pairs performing. So we've watched this kind of crazy rise, right? And the one that I really like to look at lately is the 3-day, because you can get some good signals on the weekly, but the 3-day I think is a long enough time frame in crypto to actually give us a bit of a forecast when it hasn't had time to come in on the weekly. And I have been saying this for a long time, that Bitcoin dominance was really coming into this reload zone, and you can see it did fully come into the reload zone, and you can see it put in a bearish divergence at the top right here on the RSI. We have had multiple bearish divergences on MACD, and if you look here, not only we have this divergence and this divergence, but now we've officially gone negative and below this one, this little dip as well. So in terms of momentum, in terms of overbought, oversold, Bitcoin dominance is looking probably the weakest that I've seen it since I've been tracking it. And now we haven't necessarily turned over in terms of the moving averages here, but you can see on the 3-day, if I zoom out, this is technically, you can see an M market structure top that we've put in here. So I have my 3 reasons on the 3-day to go bearish on Bitcoin in terms of altcoins. Okay, so maybe not in terms of and another way to say that is that I'm getting bullish on Bitcoin. I'm getting bullish on altcoins in terms of Bitcoin, right? So it's like an inside bar that got printed here on the weekly. It's just kind of perking up a little bit. The weekly, I don't love it on the weekly. It's not the confirmation that I really want to see. So could I wait longer to make some kind of declaration that, oh yeah, the altcoin market is back? For sure. We did kind of have these dips along the way on the weekly, and they didn't prove to be tops. We eventually moved higher. So I'm going to be taking trades in this market with caution, right? Just little nibbles as usual, because I've just kind of learned that it doesn't necessarily mean just because we've gotten a pullback that we're going to go into, full on bull mode in terms of altcoins, or, bear mode in terms of Bitcoin pairs, basically. Bitcoin in Bitcoin pairs, if that makes sense. But what I'm seeing on the 3-day is encouraging in terms of the internals, in terms of market structure. This big breakdown over the last 3 days. We've dipped below the 70%. We came up as high as, I think, what is this? 73, 38%. I mean, that's really high. I think that's challenging. We've got old highs here. So it exceeded this high, which was back in December of 2017, when altcoins were really rallying. When Bitcoin was really rallying, it went as high as 61. That's not even that high, right? And up here went 72.88. Sorry, I've got to zoom out here because that doesn't sound correct to me. 77.67, right? So and this is really when altcoins started to come onto the scene in a major way. We kind of had this technical bounce here, and then altcoins got very popular, put in this double bottom, and Bitcoin has kind of been this where people have been parking their money in the crypto space for the last couple of years. This has been going on, this kind of bull market since May of 2018. So, and it's been substantial. If you've been holding alts like I have, this has been a really, really tough time. So you can see as well down here, the thing that's matching it, the Bittrex indexes have put in a W on the 3-day. So this is, I'm not willing to declare, like we are in a bull market for alts in terms of Bitcoin, but it's looking encouraging. If we go to the total market cap, excluding Bitcoin, you can see this perk up matching that as well. And then you have this market structure. And, we were definitely oversold. We've come into a reload zone. So we have all of our reasons to get bullish here on altcoins. And if you take small nibbles and we kind of decline further, well, you can either put your stops or just wait to buy even deeper. It's totally up to you. What's your trading plan? But you can see that, momentum put in a divergence and is perking up. So it's there, it's like if you were looking at Bitcoin, let's get a Bitcoin chart, and you saw your divergence here, and you saw the location, and everything, looked good, and the W came in. Well, you've got to buy here, even though, oh man, everybody was talking bear, was saying $1,000 Bitcoin, stuff like that. That's what people say, right? And you got to go against the grain in order to make money in trading. Another thing I wanted to kind of look at, and this was this is actually more of a commentary on Bitcoin, but we can talk about it in terms of altcoins. We see actually here on the 3-day that I think the moving averages have actually crossed over, but basically this was a study that I did way back, I think somewhere around here. You can see this put in a major turning point, this put in a major turning point, and then we don't have a major turning point day here in September, but when you line it up with the NASDAQ, which is what this study is, it's basically saying that we should have, if we mark this, the same market pattern, will have us pulling back until January. And then also we have a major turning point in January on Martin Armstrong's economic confidence model. And then if we follow the NASDAQ, it's away we go. I could totally see that happening, and I think the projection that I had around here was around $6,000. If we pull back hard and fast, we'll go well below the magic line, and that will require kind of a bounce back up as well. So in terms of technical analysis, right, I think that if we get a sharp pullback here, it is feasible that in terms of Bitcoin, that the altcoins will rally. Right, and we can see that when we go, it really, which obviously shows on the dominance. I have to wait for my blue and red to load here. You can tell that obviously when dominance pulls back, altcoins can rally, and during this time, Bitcoin wasn't necessarily. Bitcoin was pulling back, right? So this is into January, the middle of January of 2018, right? So if we go back to the middle of January, you can see that we did have this pullback happening, right? Bitcoin's kind of tanking. It's actually much easier to see over here. As Bitcoin's pulling back, so Bitcoin rallies, altcoin suffering. Bitcoin is pulling back substantially from 20,000 all the way down to 6,000. altcoins rallied up until Bitcoin was at about 10,000. So Bitcoin takes a 50% hit, and altcoins rally from, basically double or something like that, right? Now, altcoins can also rally with Bitcoin. You can see it right here. So it is feasible that altcoins will take a big hit if Bitcoin takes a big hit, but I don't know that there is a real strong correlation in terms of Bitcoin price on the downside. On the upside, I think it is very difficult. It's kind of like gold and the dollar. It's very difficult for altcoins to rally in terms of BTC when Bitcoin is just rallying. And this is, I think, the most important chart, is this dominance chart. And if this starts to break down, I think that we will, we'll obviously see a rally in altcoins. We have to see Bitcoin dominance really put in a big market structure here on the weekly, I think. And then I can say, all right, yes, you can start to get a little bit more aggressive with altcoins. Whether or not that's going to take until next year, I was kind of thinking it might take until next summer in order to really get the rally. But, that's really just my opinion. It's conjecture. I don't know what's going to happen. Anybody who tells you they know what's going to happen, they're really just full of shit, right? So I think that we just got to look at the signs. And right here, we've had a number of divergences coming in. You think this might be the peak, this might be the peak. Okay, now we've entered into the reload zone. Now we're really in the reload zone. This might be the peak. Can we break down below these lows? I think this could be the peak. So I'm going to be loading up on that. Or not loading up, but I'm going to be making some trades. And that was kind of the next thing I wanted to look at. Were like some different possible trades. I've got a Coinbase list here. I thought, just looking at Coinbase Pro would be good. Let's see. This is not really the chart I want to use. We've already kind of looked at that. Here we go. And you can just see, all right, that's a 12-hour. I kind of want to do the 3-day because, again, looking at Bitcoin dominance on the 3-day looks good. Therefore, on the 3-day for these altcoins, they also look good. The weeklies, they're not really there yet. The dailies look quite good as well, but it depends. What do you want to do in terms of your trading? Do you want to be looking on the dailies, or do you want to be looking on a longer time frame? I typically trade on a longer time frame, like weekly and 3-day. I've actually been really liking the 3-day and the kind of signals giving off for the different markets. This is a coin I have a little bit of. Just a full disclosure, I'm just going to say which coins I have. And you can see that it put in a divergence. It was oversold, then put in the divergence here on RSI. This is just the daily though. So I'm going to look at these on the 3-day. Again, on the weekly, you can take a look at these on the weekly and just see where if things look good for you. But you can see just this massive divergence came in on the MACD, and we've gone positive, right? And we've come in with a W here. It's not so clean, but we've come in with it there. RSI didn't get totally oversold, like stupidly oversold here. But this is in terms of US dollars. We've come down 78.6, put in the market structure. I think that for me, you have the location, you have the divergence, and you have the structure. That's 3 reasons. And you could easily say something like, here, let's see. Oh, good, I already have my 50% tool. That'll help me determine my target. Go like this. Here we go. So roughly that's a 5.71 to 1 trade. Completely legitimate. Might take. Let's see how long this might take. So if we have a date range, well, we'll put it to the bottom, which is here. 117 days. And then we can take another one. Half of that would be 58-ish, 59. Oops. Let's just say, oh, it's not going to let me, oh, because it's a 3-day chart. All right, so we'll go to 60 days. I mean, what it's saying is that we're going to, you know, with the 50% rule, we'd actually have a move up to here within, I don't know, probably, it says less than 30 days. We could probably, so hold on, let's pull this back. 27 days. Could that happen? You know, it's hard to, it's hard when you look at this and you're like, oh, well, that just looks like bullshit. You're just pulling shit out of your ass. This is a legitimate target. We know that. If we want to pull it down to, let's say, over here to this peak, I would say, you know, you want to be a bit more conservative. All right. Be a bit more conservative. So you have a 4.35. I actually like that a bit more. Now you can kind of see, here, let's take that away. Go. So, there we go. Can you have this little bounce up there? I think so. I don't see why not at all. So, we have a little W in RSI. Pretty oversold. Not stupidly oversold, but this is, to me, a perfectly legitimate trade. 50% rule will be, you know, what if it's a couple days late? Are we going to be all right with that? Yeah. But could you totally see a chart going like that? I could. So I see the setup coming in. And, you know, if it's in your trading plan, I think that it's, you could totally take that. You know, BCH is not really a coin that I love, but you can see this just massive, massive gap sitting up here, right? And, you know, even if you don't want to play that, you kind of have the same deal happening here in the 3-day. You had it massively oversold, no divergence, but let's see, do we have a, oops. I'm like, why isn't this working? Oh, yeah, gotta get it off the paintbrush first. I make that mistake. So, let's see, from here to here, not a divergence. So I'm not loving this. It hasn't really confirmed the W. You see a tight little W here. You might be able to take that. I wouldn't say that this would be my favorite trade. I don't really like the name, personally. Could I see it pop up a little bit? Yeah, you know, especially if altcoins rally. I think a lot of these bigger names like BCH, I'm pretty sure it's the ABC one, is going to rally. Right there, I think ABC somehow got to like take over the name. I don't know how that happened. Is it on euro? In US dollars? I mean, you kind of see, not really, but you see a double bottom here. I just don't love it. Nothing different in euros for the most part. This was a name, CVC, that I picked up just on levels. You can see my fill right there. It's kind of come down quite a bit. To me, I don't care much. I mean, I could have gotten off a sell here if I wanted to take a 1 cent gain. That's not really my game. I'm looking for, you know, a retracement, at least, let's say, back up to this high. I love using the 50% rule. You can see it didn't really get up there. Let's see how nice of a long position we could get off right now if we were just to get into the trade currently. This is not really my game. I'm more of a sell half on double kind of guy, but since this is in terms of US dollars, if Bitcoin crashes, it's going to be difficult for this name to get off the ground. So you almost have a 3-to-1 trade here anyway, though. And you can see it did kind of perk up, and, you know, Nah, it's not a very clean W, but we definitely have the momentum divergence. It did get massively oversold. This was kind of an indication that it was ready to take off when we and now it, the MACD has crossed over to positive. So I might go just pick up a little bit more of this for good measure. I like the name, but it's, I don't know, it's not that necessary, I suppose. I like to take small bets. You can see here EOS in terms of BTC. Not a lot of history on Coinbase. So hold on, let's just. Probably we'll have our best shot maybe on Binance. Yeah, Binance looks pretty good. I'm not sure it was launched on this. May have been launched on Bitfinex. Yep, a little bit more history on Bitfinex. So you can see, I think that where you want to draw your reload zone on this is from that peak. Oops, that's not where I want to draw it to that bottom. That's about roughly what I want to do. And we'll say from standard. Okay, so you can obviously tell that we're down at location. You can see that it was stupidly overbought. Stupidly oversold. Have I been saying that wrong a lot? Sorry. Stupidly oversold, divergences. I think that's a double divergence right there. We kind of have this stair step W that's come in, and definitely massive MACD divergence there, and then another one here. So I have absolutely no problem going in and picking up some EOS in terms of BTC. I think also, yeah, you can grab it on Bittrex. You see, there's just not much to go off of. If you want to do some charting on some of these names, but they just came on, it's really best to figure out, first what market is doing the most volume, but also like which one has the most history. I'm sure that Bitfinex is a good chart to go off of in terms of this name. A nibble down here I think is perfectly acceptable, and then if we do move lower, or we come back and we check this low, you can pick up a little bit more. It's the same kind of deal. If you take a well, I'm just gonna do this real quick. We're gonna go back to their 50%. So that might be a little bit hard to see, so I'll just extend it out. And then a long position, if we were just take our long position here and say, well, we're going to be real patient over the next 9 months, you can see that if we, it's kind of crazy, right? That's a 9-to-1. If you say, no, I don't want to be that patient, or I'd like to test, let's say, to these lows, that would actually probably make more sense. You have a 3-to-1 trade there. Or if you say, well, I want to do something a little bit on a shorter time frame, how about up to these highs right here, David? Okay, well, I'll pull this back. I'll pull this down to here. Okay. And then if we eventually break down to new lows, okay, well, oops, we're going to go here. My bad, 3-to-1. So you have a good trade there, I think, on EOS, if you want to do your 3-to-1 trade. So that's looking pretty good. EOS is, I think, a top 10 name. Let's see. Yeah, 7. So obviously the biggest ones to look at. Let's see. Ether in terms of Bitcoin. Obviously, we're down here at the bottom of the range, especially on Coinbase. I'm not sure, they were not the first ones to have it. So let's see. Oops. Ether BTC. You can see I drew this massive divergence here, and this was back on August 5th. You can see I definitely liked this, saw this trade coming in, but back then there was no market structure, right? And here it's kind of a bit far, a little far too fast. So I personally would like to wait for a pullback here, and then get in. But you can see also at the time the momentum hasn't gone positive. Now we've got a breakout in momentum. So I don't even mind necessarily picking it up here if I'm doing a long-term trade, but it's there. You can see that it's there on RSI. You can see that it's there on momentum. You see these massive divergences, momentum divergences coiling. Ethereum's ready. I'm gonna be probably picking up some. Maybe setting my bids and maybe just grabbing some, and if it comes back, grabbing some more. To be perfectly honest, the next one we need to look at, and I'm pretty sure I have a big position in this, so I will not be. This is like a short thing. I took a paper trade here just to test something, and because like I said, I already have a position. I knew I was taking it early. You can see that I took it here on the divergence, and you can see exactly where I took it. All right, well, I peeked my head above it, but you can see where I had it, and you can see this W that came in on the 3-day, and I took it before. It says it right here on this arrow. I took it down here before there was any market structure. And I wasn't super confident in the momentum at the time, but now momentum, if I blow this up, you can see it's peaked above this peak right here. I'm looking very confident on this XRP trade. Whether or not, here, I'll change this to, let's change this to a 50%. You can see kind of where I've put my win-loss is 2.7. So I think actually when I took this trade, I'm not sure how far it came down, but not a lot. The thesis on this trade was like, okay, well, if I have this like triple divergence in RSI and it's massively oversold, it's had this huge run down. All right, well, can I pick it up before I've had the market structure? And so I just picked up some, and it ended up pulling against me. So I could just wait for this market structure, which I think it has come in now. We obviously have location, and I'm just playing it against, I think, this peak right here. You can play it against this one as well. You could play it against this peak. That was the one. I guess I took a short off of that at some point. That's when they were letting me short on Poloniex. That trade did work out quite well. And, this is looking very positive for the altcoin market. Because, look, I just found a trade on Ethereum. I just found, and these are legitimate trades that I would take. That doesn't mean that they're going to move in my direction, but they're ones that I would take. Ethereum, XRP, and the Bitcoin Cash one didn't look great. Let's look at Litecoin. In terms of BTC, well, you can see that we did come down into below a reload zone, and I think I had a drawing on here that said, hey, we're going to come down here and maybe move on up. You can see that I've already considered this trade, and yep, there's your 3.4, and you could take it right now, or you could wait for a pullback. Totally up to you. This one hasn't, in terms of momentum, broken above these peaks. However, I think this is a divergence. Yeah, this is a massive momentum divergence, and then peaked up above the zero line. So for me, that's good enough. I didn't get the RSI divergence, but it was massively oversold there. So Litecoin, in terms of Bitcoin, I think is looking quite nice. I'll probably pick up some of that as well. It's not on every name. You look at this Loom, for example. You know, could you go and step in on this? It's like, yes, but there's no market structure there. So, you know, you have the divergence. It's pretty big. The divergence on RSI. Is it waiting for to just kind of turn around? Potentially, but I don't even know anything about this name. You know, if I go into like why they decided to list this one, it's ranked 140. So I'm not sure that these smaller names have turned around yet. They'll follow if the bigger names go, but most likely. Sorry, get back to my original screen here. But you know, these are just you can see here that like the smaller name Mana just hasn't really come in, but you can see the divergence on MACD. Not so oversold, but there isn't a ton of history here. Let's see. This one you'd probably have to look on a different, they just listed a lot of these on Coinbase, so you just have to look on a different exchange. I think I have a small position auger already. And then XLM, which is actually a coin that I like, I also have a position in. Let's look at it on something else that's had some history. I think maybe Bittrex would probably give us a decent amount of history. You can see we definitely have location. And let's just look at the weekly, just so it can show you a little bit that, like, look, we just don't have any weekly structure. We see that it's massively oversold, right? But RSI is kind of, it's making new lows, right? So this is just kind of a little bit dangerous. We know that the momentum is giving us a divergence and slowing down here, but is that enough to just step in on, if you're a weekly trader, to just step in? That's up to you. That's your trading plan. I think for me, I'm willing to take a nibble if it's a 3-day. And you can see like a lot of things are kind of like trying to bottom out if you look through the altcoin market. So this is a name that I like on the 3-day chart. You can see that you had a nice divergence here, and then we've peaked up above the 30 line here from being massively oversold, and then we've got a nice coiling up, plenty of divergences. This market just feels like it's kind of like time to just move up, and you can see here that we're right at value, we're right at the POC right here. If I zoom out a lot, I think that's the entire history. We've come down to the POC, and lo and behold, we're looking to turn around. So if we, to me, it's like if I take a nibble here and then we come down here and eventually turn around, it's like I don't care, right? That's, to me, I'm still gonna make money off that because I have a lot of patience, clearly, in this market. So ZRX, in terms of BTC, you can see putting in a little W down there, a little bit difficult to see, but again, divergence. I mean, they all kind of look like this, right? And then momentum is just showing us that this kind of just wants to turn back up. So I like ZRX in terms of BTC. You can see that I bought off levels here. So for me, this has come down and now put in structure. So this is time for me to increase my position. And this is why this is exactly why I don't blow my load over here. I only took small bets here. I'll take another bet here. That'll average my position, and I'm good to go. So again, I'm sure that I have, just by looking at this, it really looks like I've got the ability to get a nice risk-reward window here. Just so that we can see. Just on a pop up to the 50%. Set my stop there. You can see 3.67. A nice trade. So I could definitely see that happening. And again, this has come down pretty fast. Again, if we saw this going the other way, we'd be like, very suspicious. So a pullback, I think, is probably in order there. So as you can tell, there are a lot of individual names perking up on the 3-day. There's a lot of signs that this market could be turning around on the 3-day chart. We don't really have it on the weekly. It's up to you whether or not you want to wait for that weekly to come in or whether the 3-day is good enough. A lot of people think the daily is good enough. For me, that doesn't really show a trend. For 3 days in the crypto market is like an eternity, right? So, and I've found that sometimes if I wait for the weekly, that things have moved. They've moved against me, just by waiting too long. So I'm really starting to migrate towards the 3-day charts. I've never tried the 4-day or anything like that. Whatever works best for you, just keep looking at the different time frames. But for medium-term swing trades, we are starting to see signs of life in the altcoin market, which is really encouraging. Just full disclosure. By the way, I do. I said I do have a position in ZRX. I did get filled on ZEC down here. This is kind of interesting that it's kind of just coming back up to my level here. These are long-term trades for me, guys. I have XRP, I have XLM, I have Augur, I have. No, I don't have any Litecoin at the moment. I think I sold my whole position up at probably an average about 115 or something like that. So I did quite well on that. Ethereum, I don't have any. I've got ETC, and I don't. I got a lot of ETC, and it's starting to look pretty similar. I'm gonna see this on. It's starting to look pretty similar to the other stuff that I've been talking about here, guys. You can see that the W's actually came in earlier in this. We have the pullback into the reload zone that you could refill here. This has been kind of acting a little bit different than the rest of the market, but you can see we're down here in the range, and I don't know, ETC is looking bullish. In fact, if I go to look at the ETCG, which is the over-the-counter Ethereum Trust, that's looking quite bullish. Didn't quite get over the line, the zero line here. I'm not sure I'm ready to go on that one, but for a shorter term trade, you can see there's the W. Didn't quite peak up above that. That's not a big deal, but I don't know if I would take this trade necessarily. But you can see how freaking massive this move has been from June. Careful with this over the counter stuff, but came down to the POC here, and it said, I don't know that I want to go down anymore, right? And put in some structure here. So there's a trade. I think there's a trade here if you want to play that in the regular stock market or the over-the-counter market. But you can see here, guys, that the altcoin market is starting to perk up. So pay attention. Put your bids in if you think it's appropriate for your trading plan. And, we're going to have to watch Bitcoin to see what it does. I think it's going to be tough for any of these altcoins to rally in terms of BTC if Bitcoin goes up. If Bitcoin stays the same or goes down or stays, on kind of a sideways thing, or if it dumps, I do see that the altcoins can rally in terms of Bitcoin. In terms of US dollars, going to be pretty tough if Bitcoin really shits the bed, right? So just keep that in mind, that I'm leaning more towards BTC pairs at this point in time. They look pretty good to me. So, but I'm going to be spending a lot of the day kind of seeing where I can add to my positions and seeing what trades are out there. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, that it made sense to you, and you got a bunch of value out of it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.